Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Vani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Wednesday, July 23rd. Record-breaking to relatively uneventful. Yesterday, markets closed out the regular session mixed. The Dow gained 179 points, or 0.4%. The S&P 500 finished marginally in the green, but in record territory, picking up 4 points, or just 0.06%. The Nasdaq teetered in the red all day and closed lower by 81 points, or 0.39%. Bill, investors are eyeing trade developments and big tech earnings, so let's get into today's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Yeah, hi, Emily. S&Ps, we're up 0.41%. It's a nice move. It's a nice, strong move higher. And really, it's following President Trump's announcement that there's a trade deal with Japan, because everyone thought that wasn't going to happen. It was kind of like really, it didn't look good, but in the ninth hour, one came together. And, that event is creating global optimism that other countries are going to be able to finalize trade deals before that August 1 deadline. Now, remember, the EU and Taiwan are scheduled for talks with the U.S. today. Let's also talk about what Trump scheduled. He's going to be unveiling a sweeping federal AI action plan today, and he's going to sign up to 3 executive orders, which are intended to accelerate the U.S. leadership in artificial intelligence. So that's positive. But I mean, there are some negative stuff. I mean, the UK regulators are proposing new rules on mobile device app stores. I'm talking Google, I'm talking Apple. That's not positive. In terms of economic events, the key economic data point for today: existing home sales. I mean, that's going to be the big one. That is really going to be watched overall. On the earnings front, GEV, Chubb, CB, Calmine Food, CALM, Interactive Intuitive Surgical, ISRG, and COF. They're all trading higher after their earnings releases. And then after the bell today, we're going to hear from Google, Tesla, IBM, T-Mobile, ServiceNow, United Rentals, Chipotle, and O'Reilly Auto Parts. So, we get a lot of good earnings to keep an eye on. Now we turn our attention over to Europe, and we got Europe up. We're looking at the DAX. It's up a little more than 0.6%. It was over a full percentage point, but we're seeing outperformance in the auto sector. The FTSE's up 0.47%. Seeing some gains in oil and pharma stocks, and the CAC is up 1.14%, primarily due to gains in autos and luxury stocks. So, that's all positive. We like to see that. Turning our attention over to Asia last night, and, Asia really did show gains. We got the Nikkei in Japan. It jumped 3.51%, or 1,396 points. That's a big move. And, you got autos, financials, industrial, and consumer stocks moving higher. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng jumped 408 points. That's 1.62%. Tech, consumers, financial shares, all displaying positive sentiment. But China was up 0.01. I mean, it was just flat. It was flat to higher. I mean, well, it was positive. They're cautious. There is a sense of cautiousness ahead of next week's trade talks with the U.S. And they're scheduled. They're scheduled for next week, but it's got could throw a monkey wrench into the talks. I mean, markets are a little concerned about that. And then you get a key economic data point coming out this weekend: industrial profits for China coming out this weekend, which market's a little cautious about. Turn our attention over to oil, and oil is trading lower. We got the WTI trading at $64.82. You got Brent at $68.07. API data came out last night after the bell. They showed inventories fell by 577,000 barrels. Now, later today, you're going to get the EIA report. That comes out 1 hour after the market opens. That's going to be the key one, because that's the official data. But the API data did show an inventory draw, which typically would be positive. But, right now we're seeing weakness in oil, and that trend will likely continue throughout the day. But that's what I have for you in terms of morning market update report, Emily.
Bill, that headline about the trade deal with Japan obviously sending some positive momentum throughout markets, and we're watching trade developments as you mentioned. We're also watching key economic data points today, and we will get to those in just a moment. But you did mention a number of earnings that came out. Those stocks are trading higher. One was your pick of the day from yesterday, and then after the bell, as you pointed out, a number of key tech earnings. So let's dive into earnings action. Bill, what is going on there?
TXN, Tom, X-Ray Nancy, that's Texas Instruments. They beat by 8 cents and they did it on higher revenue. Stock's down 9.73 this morning. I mean, the fact of the matter is guidance was a little weak, and that's, with tech, you got to beat on all the data points. If you don't, they're going to hit you. And, we saw this with Netflix. We saw this NXPI, and, here again with Texas Instruments. And yeah, it's a little cautionary. But CB, Chubb Limited, they beat by 17 cents and they did it on high revenue. That stock's up 1.13%. That's positive. Upcoming after the bell, you got IBM. EPS is $2.64. Expected move is 6%. You got Tesla. EPS is 40 cents. Expected move is 8%. You got Google, Alphabet. EPS is $2.16. Expected move is 6.50% when they release after the bell today, Emily.
And Bill, I will note that Chubb Limited was your pick of the day yesterday. We will do a full recap on that by the end of the show. Mentioning those tech earnings and those data points is a perfect example of how your earnings alert can work for you. When these earnings come out and, investors are really looking for those tech earnings to hit all those data points on your NewsWare, you can gather those data points quickly. Not only their earnings releases, but the guidance and comments from CEOs, CFOs, and that really allows you to be able to play these stocks. Speaking of making plays, economic data is an important indicator to also be watching. More data points on that front today. So, Bill, what is going on in terms of the day's economic events?
10 a.m. we got existing home sales. Also at 10 a.m. you get the Atlanta Fed business inflation expectations. And at 10:30 a.m. you get the EIA oil stockpiles report. In terms of the existing home sales report, expectations are for the reading to come at 4.0 for June. May data came in at 4.03, so it makes sense. Continued the discussion on Powell and as chairman of the Fed continues to go on. He's not going to be replaced. It's getting clearer and clearer that he's not going to be replaced. They're not happy with his lack of movement on interest rates, but his term ends in May of next year, so I don't see them making a move prior to that. But that's what I have for you in terms of an economic update, Emily.
You're watching those data points, those earnings releases, and still you're keeping track of other market moving news, all using your NewsWare. You're following alerts for things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news, and catalyst calls. You're looking at your stocks grouped together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
Doing a quick data check. I got 26. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 26 higher, 2 lower, and 2 unchanged. I'm looking at my FANG stocks, and obviously we're seeing some positive action there as well. There's some weakness in Google, there's some weakness in Tesla, which doesn't surprise me, but everything else is showing positive actions. You're talking about the news behind the tape, like Apple. UK regulators are starting to probe the app stores. Not positive for Apple or Google. There you go. Amazon, ticker AMZN, they're going to be acquiring personal AI company BEE. Apparently, these guys offer a $50 Fitbit-like device. Okay, Amazon is trading higher by 0.5%. Tesla trading lower, slightly lower. Registrations of Tesla electric vehicles fell 21.1% in Q2 in California. In terms of Dow Jones 30, Microsoft ticker MSFT, stock is trading higher, but the U.S. Nuclear Weapons Agency was breached in that SharePoint hack. IBM releasing after the close. Tech stocks need to outperform, and IBM is talking about modest growth. Yeah, that doesn't bode well for IBM stock moving higher after earnings. Boeing, you got to keep an eye on the trade deal. If not reached, the EU is preparing 30% tariffs on industrial goods such as aircrafts. In terms of guidance news, TXN, Tom, X-Ray Nancy, Texas Instruments, sees Q3 EPS $1.36 to $1.60. Street estimates $1.49. Really not that bad. Boston Scientific, BSX, sees Q3 EPS 70 to 72 cents. Street estimate 70 cents. That's kind of an uptick. Hilton, HLT, they see Q3 EPS coming in at $1.98 to $2.04. Street estimate is $2.02. That's a downtick. In terms of shareholders meeting, Booz Allen, ticker BAH, chairman of the shareholders meeting today starts at 8 a.m. In terms of buyback news, TDY, Teledyne increases their share repurchasing authorization by $2 billion. Catalyst events, XYZ, that's Block. They're going to be replacing Hess in the S&P 500 today at the opening. Want to keep an eye on, and that's what I have for you in terms of news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. It is now that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, what is your pick of the day today?
Hi. I'm going to go with LabCorp, ticker LH, Larry Henry, as my, today. Earnings are coming out tomorrow morning. What can I say? EPS is $4.14. Expected move, 6.13%. Yesterday's call volume was light, 73 calls to 42 puts. Open interest, 2,747 calls to 1,699 puts. Both are positive. Brokers, major brokers, that I see following the stock are positive. They have been raising price targets. That's good to see. In terms of getting in at the right price, I'm going to say 250, 150 is kind of what I'm looking for. We'll have to wait and see how it opens. And that'll really give me a better indication. But that's my pick of the day. LabCorp, ticker LH, Larry Henry, Emily.
LabCorp, it is again following, ahead of earnings and looking at other data points and targeting a specific entry point. That is a strategy you have used in other picks of the day that have worked out well, including yesterday's pick of the day. But in just a moment, we will do a recap on that pick of the day. So stick with us. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our Hot Off the Press segment. Bill, sending it back to you.
Okay, what do we got? We got to talk about Schwab. World Economic Forum finds Klaus Schwab engaged in a pattern of workplace misconduct. This is not Schwab, the brokerage firm. They're saying there was unauthorized spending by him and his wife at the World Economic Forum. Interesting. Not surprising. Toyota, Honda rise in the pre-market following the Japanese-U.S. trade deal. Not surprising. Mara Holdings, MARA, they're proposing a private offering of $850 million in senior notes. General Dynamics, GD, reports a backlog of $103.7 billion at the end of Q2. That's something to keep an eye on. Dash Bio gets $11 million for lab automation technology. Trump to keep Powell likely to shape Fed by appointments. Doesn't have that many appointments, but okay. Federal judges decide whether to curtail Trump immigration enforcement tactics. Kohl's and Open Door. Hey, they're the headline of a new class of meme stocks, that's for sure. SNY, Sanofi, they're going to be privately held vaccine developer. Vice Bio for up to $1.6 billion. That's all I'm seeing this morning.
Okay, Bill, before we go and get to trading today, let's do that check-in. Yesterday's pick of the day, we pointed out earlier in the show, was Chubb Limited. They did release earnings after the bell yesterday, as you told us during your earnings report rundown. They reported a Q2 EPS of $6.14. That was anywhere from 17 cents to 18 cents better than the analyst estimates out there. Revenue for the quarter came in at $14.2 billion versus the consensus estimate of $14.16 billion. Digging in a little deeper here, the company reported a Q2 net premiums written at $14.2 billion. That's versus $13.36 billion last year. A strong report. The stock is looking strong. Bill, how did your call work out?
Worked out well. You got to look at the numbers. I mean, the stock opened up at $274.22 and it closed at $278.73. You got your 1% during the day yesterday. After the bell, listen, it was trading over 282 yesterday, so it was there after these earnings came out. But you made your 1% during the day. You take it, and you walk away. You lock in those gains if you can do it during the day. And Chubb, we were able to do that yesterday. CB was a winner.
A nice one there, Bill, and we will check in with you tomorrow about today's Lab Core pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning at NewsWare's Trade Talk, where we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.